welcome back to News They Ain't Telling You, where politics meets pop culture. All right, we have all kinds of fun, quick news. We have a lot of it. A lot happened in the last couple of days. First and foremost, the COVID bill, American Rescue Plan, has passed the House, meaning it is on the president's desk waiting for a signature. He originally was going to sign on Friday. Thankfully, he is going to sign Thursday, today, so I'm glad that he's not waiting because that kind of maybe would have been used against him, and people are anxiously awaiting their $1,400 checks. 85% of households will receive these checks. The bill is going to be about $1.9 trillion, so it is a massive, massive bill adding into our deficit. 0 Republicans voted for this bill, none in the House, none in the Senate. This is a fully Democrat bill. And it's brilliant. I'm going to get into great detail about this bill in a second. Okay, in other news, we have a new Attorney General. Merrick Garland is finally in the building. He has been confirmed. He started work today. There was a great to-do. He gave a great speech. He is going to be a phenomenal Attorney General. As you know, he could have been a phenomenal Supreme Court Justice. But funny story, Mitch McConnell voted yes for him to be Attorney General, but wouldn't even give him his Senate hearing for Supreme Court Justice. So isn't that just grand? Herschel Walker, who is a former professional football player who's more known now for being a Trump supporter than anything else, he is eyeing a Senate run in Georgia. He lives in Texas, so a little bit of carpetbagging there, but all right. And like I said, he is a close friend and ally of Donald Trump. He's on Fox News quite often. So Beth Moore, who's a name you guys may not know or may know, she is quite a big deal in the evangelist world. She's equivalent to someone like a Joel Osteen or a Joyce Meyer, something like that, big in the evangelist Southern Baptist world. Well, she has decided that she is leaving the Southern Baptist Church. It is a very, very big deal. She is making it clear she's leaving because the Southern Baptist Church cannot keep up with the times. She is staying in the Baptist Church. I don't really know the difference between Southern Baptist and Baptist, besides one's a little more extreme than the other, but Beth Moore is leaving the Southern Baptist Church and seems to be a big deal in that world. There is a watchdog group that is investigating 13 GOP House members for misuse of the proxy vote. So proxy vote is basically when you can't be there for a vote, but you get someone to vote for you. It's a proxy vote. So 13 GOP House members are being investigated by this watchdog group. So more to come on that. Former Congresswoman Marcia Fudge has officially been confirmed as the new HUD secretary. So we are officially down one House member. Like I told you guys yesterday, she represents Ohio. Ohio is Republican ran, and they can take as long as they want to do a special election. So we will be down that one House member, I feel like, for a while, because she won by 80% in her last reelection. So that definitely would be a D seat that we would keep. So they're going to manipulate that, that's for sure. Florida is advancing an election bill that would ban drop boxes. So you know those boxes that you could just drop your ballot in and call it a day, and they're banning them. They're pushing forward a bill to ban all drop boxes, making it even harder for people to vote. I wonder why. A new website has popped up. It is called jan6evidence.com, and it is just that. It's people who are real people who are being like Nancy Drew sleuths and hunting down Capitol terrorists, because I guess the FBI is taking too long. Shocking, I know. Apparently there was a couple videos that were dropped by the FBI the other day showing multiple people who were dropping pipe bombs off on January 6th at the RNC, the DNC, and the Capitol. Some are saying one of them is a woman, which is very out of the range. Usually it's men who do things like that, but we're in a weird time. So everyone check out jan6evidence.com, the number 6, not the letter 6, and maybe you can help out. Maybe you could be your own Nancy Drew. Okay, President Biden is ordering 100 million more vaccines from Johnson & Johnson. The great thing about Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is that it's only one vaccine instead of two. There's a little bit of a question, though, on how effective it actually is. Some are saying 60%, some are saying 70%. So there we go. But 100 million more are coming because his goal is to have every adults, every person over 16 vaccinated by May. So that is a big deal, and we'll see. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse, who we all know from the infamous moment of the protest turned riots where he killed someone. His trial is being delayed by at least 7 months. He, of course, got out on bail, broke his bail, disappeared, was hanging out with a bunch of like white supremacists, even though he wasn't supposed to. And then he's still allowed to be kept out on bail. So at least 7 more months till his trial. So that's cool. Brand new Como information. I feel like we get more information about him every single day. Como aide has come forward and says that she was groped in December by Como. They were at the governor's mansion and he was inappropriate with her. So I think that makes 6 or 7 different women in situations. De Blasio, the mayor of New York City, has called for Como to resign. It's not that shocking considering they have no relationship. And Como has definitely, in de Blasio's opinion, been a bully to him. So today, the New York Democrats are meeting to discuss the future of Governor Como. We shall see more on that. Also, there is the nursing home thing that hasn't gone away. So there's a lot going on. This is very exciting. The House passed H.R. 8, which is a bipartisan background check act. 8 Republicans voted for this, and I say kudos to them. It's basically getting rid of the gun show loophole and adding in universal background checks. The fact that we don't have universal background checks and you can have a record in Florida and then come to California and get a gun and that record in Florida doesn't show up, that's a little bit of a problem. The gun show loophole, of course, is you can go to a gun show and you don't have to wait for a background check. You can buy semi-automatic weapons. You can buy, doesn't matter if you've been arrested. It doesn't matter. None of it. So this is a great start at basic common sense gun reform. My whole life I have been hearing that Democrats are going to knock on people's doors and be taking people's guns. And I've lived through many Democrat Congresses. I've lived through 2, now 3 Democratic presidents in my lifetime. And you know what? They never came and knocked on the door to say, let me take your guns. These are basic common sense and it should be that simple, but of course it's not. So again, to the 8 Republicans, kudos to you. The former presidents and first ladies have done an ad getting people, showing themselves getting vaccinated and encouraging people to get vaccinated. Trump and Melania were not included simply because they declined. And also they were secretly vaccinated in January. So no need to do that. But I just want to add this little tidbit on it is I've noticed since W. Bush has resurfaced pretty much since Trump had been president and people didn't hate him quite as much as they used to. Every single interview, everything, Laura Bush is sitting directly next to him in every which way. And that is included in this ad. In this ad, you don't see videos of the former first ladies. You just see pictures of Rosalind Carter and Hillary Clinton, who had the cutest little mask with a little H on it. So cute. Michelle Obama looking gorgeous with no makeup. And then there's Laura Bush just sitting there with W in his interview. And W's like slunched over and he's like, I just can't wait till baseball's back and I can go to a Texas Rangers game. And she's just sitting there. And that's sort of their dynamic at all times. You guys should pay attention. She's always right there next to him, controlling to make sure that W doesn't say something really stupid to make people hate him again. But, he does love his baseball. And if only he could have just owned a baseball team and been the baseball commissioner, our lives would be so different. But check it out because it's a cute little ad. And I'm so happy that they all did it. And God has definitely blessed the Carters because they're looking pretty good at 90 plus years old. This is interesting and change of mood here. A 3rd-degree murder charge has been added back to Derek Chauvin. Is that how you say his name? I don't really care how to say his name because he's a horrible person. He, of course, is the one who murdered George Floyd. So 3rd-degree murder was taken off a few months ago, and then now it's the same judge has allowed 3rd-degree murder charge to be back on there. So hopefully this all works out. Again, we have a new attorney general, so please, God, let this justice finally be there. Prince William. Oh, yeah, I'm so sick of talking about this family. Prince William has come out and says that the royal family is very much not racist. Today he was out and about. Prince Charles was out and about at some charity thing. So they're definitely trying to do some cleanup, kind of like what they did with Princess Diana after the whole debacle of Princess Diana being, well, killed in my opinion. But so he's come out and said his royal family is much not racist. He has not talked to his brother, but he will. I am genuinely sick of talking about this family, and I think it's so funny that Americans were so obsessed with this royal family when we left that country. But okay. Matthew McConaughey is considering a Texas governor run. Anyone who's been paying attention in the last few months should have seen this coming, but I guess we haven't learned our lesson on celebrities being involved in politics. All I can see is him giving an inauguration speech in Texas and being like, all right, all right, all right. This is kind of cool, you know? But wherever Ann Richards is, up in heaven, up in political heaven, she's probably just shaking her head ever so slightly. And if you don't know who Ann Richards is, you should really Google her because she was the first woman governor as a Democrat, but the first woman governor of Texas. And she is about as badass as they can get. And she potentially could have run for president one day, but George W. Bush used the fact that she was an alcoholic and currently in AA against her and sort of ruined those chances. So there you have that. Former MLB baseball player Johnny Damon has been arrested for a DUI in Florida. But what's really interesting, the reason I'm saying this, is while he was being arrested as he was drunk, he said he was being arrested because he was a Trump supporter and that he believed Blue Lives Matter as he's resisting an arrest with a cop. So how is that Blue Lives Matters? Because you're not showing, you know, support. And he was saying that he was being arrested because he's a Trump supporter. And I'm like, dude, you're in Florida. Like, it's a safe place to be a Trump supporter. Let me just tell you. I used to love Johnny Damon. He played for the Oakland A's. I actually have his batting gloves. He threw them up to me one day, and they're signed and everything. But, yeah, Johnny, like, lay off the booze because no one has issues with you in Florida because you're a Trump supporter. Like, go hang out in Mar-a-Lago. You're fine. Iowa State Senate has passed a bill that penalizes cities for cutting police budgets. So that's going to be an interesting case because cities have a right to their own budget. So I don't really know how they're going to implement that, but it has passed. Iowa, that governor's been busy doing all kinds of crazy stuff over there. Supreme Court has called off arguments over a Medicaid work requirements case that was moving forward. President Biden's team has asked for more time. Apparently they want to switch some things around. That was a Medicaid switch that, of course, Trump implemented, so they said we're going to give you more time. This Supreme Court seems to be fans of President Biden, so this is just weird times. The Mississippi governor has signed the first ban on transgender athletes in women's sports. This is going to be a new battle that we will be seeing take place. I think this, along with gay rights, is going to be the new sort of civil rights. What do we do? How do we handle this? You're going to see a lot of Supreme Court cases, I feel, that are going to be working that way. The transgender athlete situation is an unfortunate situation, and I feel like this is only the beginning. So we shall see. Tucker Carlson, good old Tucker Carlson, he has mocked women in the military and saying that President Biden is trying to turn the military into less masculine military, I guess. So, you know, that guy is too smart to be this stupid. So he's saying these things and doing these things on purpose because he actually is a really intelligent man. And I don't agree with anything he ever says, but yeah, he openly mocked women and said that President Biden has some secret agenda to demasculine the military. I don't even know what that means, or, oh yeah, it's sexist. That's what I know what that means. Jeffrey Epstein's New York City mansion, that's 7 floors, finally has been sold because who the F would want Jeffrey Epstein's former mansion? It makes me sick to my stomach to even think about it. But it is finally sold, and it's a mystery buyer. I wonder why it's a mystery, because who wants to admit that? It's sold for $51 million, but it's actually worth $88 million. So that is a hefty discount, but disgusting. I mean, why don't they just tear it down and build a new like they did with Nicole Brown Simpson's house? Because who would want that? Stacey Dash, who we all know from Clueless, Dee from Clueless, but also from recent being very, very Trump supportive, very, very Republican, very, very Fox News. She has apologized for her offensive comments over the last couple of years, and she says she's quitting politics. So, I mean, like, who really cares? But, like, you know, she's iconic because she's Dee and Clueless, but, Yeah, so she's trying to get more work, I'm sure, in Hollywood because, a lot of Trump supporters have been kind of pushed aside in Hollywood. And so I think that that's what's going on. And last but not least, a little tidbit here, Adele is officially divorced finally. This is what's interesting to me. There will be no spousal or child support to her ex. She, of course, married sort of like a normal, non-famous person. He's asking for no spousal support, no child support. I say kudos to him because usually men in that situation or women in that situation take full advantage. They're sharing joint custody of their son. So, Adele, you are divorced. Can we get an album, sweetheart? Can we hear about the journey of the divorce and all of that? Please, for the love of God, Adele, please. All right, guys, let's break down the COVID bill, shall we? Okay, so as you guys know, the big America Rescue Plan has passed the House. President Biden is signing it. $1,400 checks are going to 85% of households in America. Very, very exciting. It's a $1.9 trillion COVID bill. It was passed by all Democrats. 0 Republicans voted for it. This is what I find to be very interesting. So the CARES Act, it passed in March 2020. That is just a few months before the election. Of course, the election of Biden versus Trump. And the CARES Act passed the Senate 96-0. When you are only months away from an election, knowing that this CARES Act could potentially help then President Trump. And yet, 96-0. The 4 who didn't vote, the no vote, were all Republicans. And I can't quite remember why they didn't vote. I just remember it was Mitt Romney and Senator Mike Lee, and 2 others. I can't remember why, but they're all Republicans. So this had full support of Democrats, full support of Republicans, bipartisan in every way, just a few months before the election. And Democrats were able to look for the bigger picture and say, we have to do this for the American people. And they did. And what I find to be funny is that the Democrats, they could potentially have helped Donald Trump, and they still did it. Now we have the CARES Act was a true $1 trillion bill, which added $11.7 trillion to the deficit, which is a lot, but we're dealing with COVID, so this is what has to happen. A lot of the Republicans who said that they couldn't vote for this bill was because of the amount of deficit it added, and I'm like, you had no problem adding a $2 trillion to help the American people, but now because it's Democrat-led, you're like, no. But this is what they're going to do. They're going to spin it. They're going to say that it's a waste of money. All of these states are getting money. It's a blue state bailout, which is their favorite thing to say, and try to reason with themselves as to why, they didn't vote for it. Not a single Republican voted for it. One Republican went back to his home state and started touting about how great this current COVID bill is for small businesses and small restaurants. And yet he didn't vote for it. So it's very funny. Wicker is who did that. The CARES Act, just so everyone knows, it didn't address schools. And it did not address schools. It did not address testing. It did not any of that. It was just about getting money. And also, a huge portion of the PPP loans went to huge corporations or friends of, you guessed it, Donald Trump. So isn't that interesting? Republicans had no issue with voting for that. But this bill, none of the money, none of the PPPs go to mass corporations. None goes to the top 1 or 2%. You only get the $1,400 check if you make $75,000 or less. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's just very interesting. So I'm just going to break down what this COVID bill is because it's very confusing. I've had a couple people ask me, so here we go. First and foremost, it extends weekly unemployment benefits through September 6th. It also adds a tax break in unemployment benefits, which is massive because we were right on the deadline of unemployment benefits going out. Child tax credit. This is the biggest thing. It adds $3,000 a year for each child between 6 and 17. $3,600 extra tax credit if you have a child that's under 6. This little portion right here potentially can get 50% of children out of poverty by giving these parents a little bit of a leg up. This is a very, very, very big deal. And I am so happy that they fought so nonstop to put this child tax credit in there. $350 billion is going to states, cities, tribes, and U.S. territories, which is the most any tribe has ever received. So that is exciting because COVID has been pretty gnarly to tribes across the land. Billions will fund testing and contact tracing. 20 billion in emergency rental assistance. 10 billion goes to mortgage assistance. 130 billion to help schools reopen. The deal is if you accept money for a school, you must be reopened within 30 days, which is a big deal that Republicans are going to try to spin. $1 billion is going to Head Start. Head Start is the federal funded daycare for low income that Lady Bird Johnson started back in the 60s. So $1 billion is going to Head Start. That's phenomenal because so many, I don't want to say lower class, but so many people who are in the lower brackets, they rely on Head Start as a daycare because daycare is so expensive. So that's great. $86 billion for failing pensions, which is pretty awesome. It's a little bit of a controversy one, though, because people are saying, well, wait, pensions were already failing. Why are we bailing them out? Because this is a full bailout in the pensions department. But they put that in there. $510 million is going to FEMA. $10 billion is going to infrastructure, which is going to provide a lot of jobs. A lot of people were wondering why there was infrastructure in here. They're extending BART back home in the San Francisco Bay Area and one other train track in America. But it's jobs, and I think jobs will stimulate the economy, of course. $200 million for Amtrak relief, which is very much needed, but a lot of people are also saying, why is Amtrak and infrastructure and things like that in the bill? But I think it's jobs, jobs, jobs. $8.5 billion is going to rural health centers, which is astronomical. The last presidential candidate to even sort of address or deal with rural health centers or rural areas was Robert Kennedy. And he was the last candidate to actually go to rural areas and like the Appalachian Mountains and see how poverty driven that whole area was. So $8.5 billion is going to help those health centers because a lot of those areas don't even have a health center. So that's great. Democrats went very, very big with this bill, which is why Republicans are poo-pooing it, because there are a lot of things in it that are, one could say, not COVID related. But I think that what has happened is that COVID really, truly exposed how many Americans are one paycheck away from disaster and how many children are dealing with poverty. So I think that the biggest thing that I am excited about this bill is that 50% of children will be able to get out of poverty because of solely the tax credit, the unemployment benefits being extended, the jobs that are going to increase, the infrastructure jobs. So I don't know why anyone would be against that. Some Republicans are saying it's just a bailout bill all around. 75% of the nation has been polled and approves of this bill. People desperately want help. And I think, again, I'm going to go back to COVID really exposed how much poverty we have in this country when we had people waiting in food lines and people who didn't know what to do because there was no job, there was no daycare, there was no schools, everything shut down, and it just exposed everything. So I am very proud of Democrats. I got a little emotional yesterday because this is Madam Speaker Pelosi's second really, really massive, important piece of legislation. She, of course, oversaw Obamacare and really was the heart and soul behind getting that passed. And she is the heart and soul, as much as she's saying this is President Biden's bill or she worked with Schumer or this is her baby. And she has seen this through since day one. And she really has gotten us through COVID and making deals with then President Trump. And now, of course, has more of an ally in President Biden. And President Biden has been very complimentary to her. And I just got a little bit of emotional because I realized that her career is going to wrap up here sooner rather than later. And this is a big deal. And she can retire knowing that she helped get 50% of children out of poverty. And that is what matters to Nancy Pelosi, is children. And that's what she's spent her whole career basing it around. So this to me felt like a Lyndon B. Johnson progress. I know that a lot of people are saying that this was passed, but it was a win for Biden, but it wasn't a bipartisan win. And I get that, but sometimes you just got to go for it. And he went for it, and I am really excited. We're going to have jobs are going to increase, schools are going to reopen, vaccines are going to be out. And it's a historic moment that was led by one historic woman who's going to go down in history. So this is positive news. There's a lot going on, but this is really positive news. And now with gun legislation passing the House and potentially move on to the John Lewis voting rights, the battle will be in the Senate, but Pelosi is just like bringing it on home. So we're excited. Can't wait till Biden signs this in. Okay, so my big thing is trying to convince everyone that politics is just as important as pop culture. I love pop culture. I watch every single Real Housewife. I watch 90 Day Fiancé. I don't watch The Bachelor, but I know a lot of you guys do. But along those lines, I get it. Pop culture is important. However, what happens in the United States government is pretty important as well. And I think that there's certain things that every American should know who's over 18. You should know who your senators are. You should know who your House of Representative is. At the very least, I would hope you would know who your governor is. But all right, I get it. So I thought I would just show you guys like how hand in hand pop culture and politics really is. Let me tell you, the drama on the United States Capitol Hill is not that far off from what happens on a Real Housewives episode. Let me just be clear. Let's start it off this way. Okay, so first and foremost, so Real Housewife, each cast has about 6 to 7 members. They all like hold their diamond or their whatever it is, right? Like you guys all know the drill. So let me just say this. First and foremost, we've got Senator Feinstein. That's right. She's the OG. She's like the Vicki Gunvalson of the group. The one that you all wish like, oh, it's time for her to go away. We're done. But then when she's gone, y'all are like, wait, where's the drama? Where's the like realness? Where is the OG? That's Dianne Feinstein, okay? All right, so we go from Feinstein, who's the OG, then we go into someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is the ultimate villain. Every Real Housewife has an ultimate villain. In Beverly Hills, it is Lisa Rinna. In New York, this last season, it was Dorinda, sad to say. But you need the villain. Now, don't get it twisted. I don't want Marjorie Taylor Greene anywhere near re-election and anywhere near the Congress because she is Cuckooville. But that Cuckooville brings to a point where you're like, say what now? And that's what this girl does, like a villain on Real Housewives, except for it's real life and you're dealing with legislation and all that jazz. But like, girlfriend doesn't have that much power. Media gives her power. Just like on Real Housewives, media, Twitter, all of that gives all these crazy villains all the power. Then you have Susan Collins, Senator Collins, who to me is the one that you're like, yeah, I can trust her. She's great. Oh, wait, not really. She's like a Kyle Richards from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The one that you think is your friend and your ally, but then will stab you in the back and go, wait, what? Me? Who? Not, That's Susan Collins. That is your Real Housewife right there. Lisa Murkowski, again, another one that you're like, can I not? You quite can't figure her out, but she's needed on the show simply because she makes you constantly wonder, like, what are you going to do, Lisa? What are you going to do next? The drama, the anticipation. Then you have the Amy Klobuchar, the real HBIC, let's be honest, the one who will make you use a comb to eat your salad and smile while she's doing it. If that doesn't sound like a Real Housewife, I don't really know what is. I mean, Tamra Judge, anyone? Shannon Beador, anyone? And then you have the true queen, the one and only, Nancy Pelosi, who is the LVP, the one that everyone is jealous of and thinks possibly, dang, she manipulates everything. Oh, but does she? Does she? She just rules the school, that's all. And you're all just jealous of that. So there you have it. Just a couple of the ladies from the United States Congress who are so much like the Real Housewives, who bring it every single time. And you should be tuning in the same manner that you're tuning in on Bravo. Just a thought, guys. Okay, guys, make sure you enjoy this day, this historic day. Good times are here again. Until next time, make sure you check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and of course, TikTok. And make sure you check us out on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, please. All right, guys, until next time, politics over pop culture.